Jeez, they made me
same
throw up.
thrusters, but so you do 2159 of the thrusters, but you do 12 burpees in between.
Instead of pull-ups.
Yeah, instead of pull-ups. 12 burpees every time. Yeah.
Kind of
I
sucks.
just-
Worse, I think.
What's the weight? 95, 65?
60, yeah,
65.
95, 65.
Yeah, it's a little. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
No,
L2 was really cool. I really enjoyed
That-
it.
The
I
same
wanna do.
format, like how it happens?
Same like weekend. Well, now there's a test. There wasn't a
Yeah.
test when I took it, and now they have a like an actual written test.
How long ago did you take it?
Like 2.5, 3 years ago.
Alright, it's not too far back.
They said you have to renew it.
Well,
Yes.
that's what happened. My L1 was expiring, and it was either do an L2 or pay again to have an L1. I was like, I might as well go take my
Yeah.
L2, but I don't coach enough to do an L3, like to move forward with that because I don't coach enough.
So
Yeah, I'm
You
doing
have
the
to coach.
L3. The L3.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you have to
You
coach
have to
like
have
a
hours,
minimum
yeah.
hours.
You
Yeah,
have to
and I-
have. Well, you don't have. You have to accumulate 700 and something hours.
yeah.
I think you have
Which
that.
maybe, I
Yeah.
have that.
So how do you renew it? Do you pay to take a test again?
For level 1, yeah. I
Yeah,
think
you
so.
pay $500.
I don't even know if you have to take the test again. You must
Every
just-
year?
No, it's like 5 years.
Every 5
Oh,
years.
because I thght it was 3 years. I was like, oh, that's not that bad. But 5 years
No, I
is
think
even
it's
better.
5. I think it's 5.
Okay,
5 years.
cool.
But yeah,
Because I want to do that. So they'll send me
Great.
something like, oh, it's expiring.
yeah, they'll let you know.
Okay, good.
You won't have to
I
like
just want
remember.
to pay
They'll let you,
$1,000.
they'll let you know.
They'll tell
I also
you.
want, but it's fine. It's gonna be worth it because I've already gotten it actually.
That's awesome.
It
I'm
is
an L1
good.
trainer.
It is a good stuff. But yes, they are gonna judge you on your workout.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Carlos.
Once you're level 2, then they do.
Yes.
That's my goal to get.
Because
to get
you have to coach a movement.
Yeah.
Like you have to coach it and like correct it verbally, visually, and tactilely. Like you
Yeah.
have to use all the different ways they teach you how to correct something, and then you have to like teach them like they've never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of
Yeah,
cool. It breaks
that I
it
like,
down like
yes.
way back. It's really neat. And they talk to you about programming,
Yeah.
which
I
is
like
just
that.
that's a lot. Programming is a lot.
It's
Yeah,
too-
it
yeah,
is a
it's like
lot.
It's like,
it's so many out there
Oh.
that you have no idea.
but like the way they gave you that huge chart,
Mhm.
right? And it's got like all the monostructural move or I forget how it's like laid out. I think like the movements are over here, and then there's like time domains and different things. So like it basically is like a chart on like how to program, so that if you see a bunch of tick marks in the same line, you're probably doing like the same time domain. You need to change it so that everything like you have a well-rounded like program. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool, but like you have to
That's my goal.
have
That's
time.
out to
You
sooner
have
later
time
down,
to like
obviously.
a lot.
program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's not
why I
a-
don't do it.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
a quick. It takes a
No.
lot of planning to program. If you want to have a good program,
Yes.
you can
Yes.
throw together a graphic
Yeah.
program real easy.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh man.
How did you start in CrossFit? How did you become a PT doctor?
Okay.
And all that.
So I started CrossFit back in 2010, so a long time ago. And one of my friends was like, "Hey, I think you'd be really good at this." And I was like, "Okay." I was a gymnast in college. Like I did
Oh,
Division I
yes.
gymnastics, so I had like a background in like kind of fitness, and because we weightlifted in college, like I
Yeah.
kind of already knew a lot of that stuff. And I was like, "Okay, I'll try it." So I like kind of started doing these WODs like off of main site and like just literally like throwing things together. Like my movement patterns were terrible, but I just like I could make my way through it. And then I was in another state, and I moved back home like in December I think of 2010, and I started training like at a CrossFit gym. And they were like, "Are you gonna sign up for the Open?" And I was like, "What's the Open?" It was like the first year they did the Open online, and I was like, "Okay, sure, yeah." Like I love to compete. I haven't done it in a while, so I signed up. First workout is I think it was a 10-minute AMRAP, and it was like 30 double unders and 10 snatches, and just go. It might have been even shorter, it might have been 8. And I didn't have double unders. And I was like, I practiced every day for like day, oh my God, forever. And then I didn't do that great on that workout, but then there was like a malfunction because it was the first time they did it online, and then they extended the deadline. So I'm like in the gym, like trying to do all these double unders. I'm trying to figure this stuff out. So I got to do it again. I think they extended it, like ended up doing it like 2 weeks of extension because like they just couldn't figure it out. This was in 2011.
Yeah.
I ended up making it to regionals, and then I ended up making it to the games that year.
Wow.
Yeah. So, which was really crazy. And in that year, I actually started PT school. I found out I got in like April and PT school started to start in May. And I was like, okay. So I came down here, was training for regionals. I had to go back to Ohio to compete. They wouldn't let me like come switch regions. Like they're like, no, you qualified in that region.
That's true,
so I had to go home, compete. I made it to the games. Came back here, started PT school. Had to take like a week off in the middle of my very first like year of PT school to go to the CrossFit Games. But they were like, that's cool, like great, that's awesome. I stayed up on my work and I went to the CrossFit Games. So in the middle, like very beginning of PT school. And then the following year, I also made it to the CrossFit Games and took another week off PT school. And then the year after that was my last year PT school. I qualified to regionals, but my, was it that year? 11, 12? No, okay, no, I qualified to regionals and I got hurt at regionals. And I was like on track to win. I was winning. It was the second day, I was either first or second. And I got hurt on the deadlift box jump workout, and I ended up finishing 4th, and they took the top 3. Because I basically did all Sunday on like one leg, because I wasn't just gonna like let it go. Yeah. But I wouldn't have been able to go to the games that year because of school. Yeah. So it wouldn't have really mattered. And then I finished school, and then moved to Colorado, started working as a PT. I did not love Colorado. It's cold.
It's to visit though, not to the actual.
Exactly.
But it's nice. Right?
Because I was born and raised in Ohio, and I went to school in West Virginia, and I loved Florida. It was great. So I went there, ended up coming back here, worked for a little while, tried some different avenues, and then kind of finally was like, you know what, I need to do this for myself, and I need to serve the population that is kind of underserved. And like, it's kind of crazy to think that like CrossFitters are underserved in any way, because I mean, you're an active population, like there's no reason that you should be underserved. But what happens when you go to the doctor and you're hurt as a CrossFitter? The doctor's like, oh, stop doing CrossFit.
Yeah, so
and you're like, whoa, like, why? Because they don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they don't have that time to sit there and break down how to squat, how to do this, how to do that, and like, why is that even important to you? That's the first thing is like, oh, well, stop running, stop doing CrossFit, stop doing your triathlons, stop doing your Ironmans. So, and then they get sent to, like, okay, fine, go to PT. So they go to a regular, like, kind of general PT, and they do some really basic things. And they might make progress, might get a little bit better, but then they go back in the gym, and it still hurts, because they never really pushed them to that point where they were able to, like, get back into butterfly pull-ups and, running and box jumps and burpees and snatching and, like, all these, because that's not what you see in a general rehab setting. It's, like, maybe some 5-pound dumbbells and some bands, but like there's not a lot of barbells, Now they're starting to be a little bit more, but I kind of realized like, hey, these people like really need somebody who's like, number one, on their side and not going to tell them to stop doing CrossFit, but also number two, someone who really like understands it from basically as big of a stage as you could understand it, and I think if you were to compare it to like football, if you were an NFL athlete and we're an orthopedic surgeon, every football player is going to want to come see you and should want to come see you, because you understand the game on a different level. You've played it, you've been there, and now you're there to like help them. And so that's kind of like why I was like, you know what, I think I should really help this community, because I get it. I've been there. I know what kind of work it takes to come in here, even if you're not a competitor. But like the effort that people give in CrossFit is unlike any other place. Yeah. And if you've ever been in a box and been in the middle of a workout, everyone's sitting there cheering you on, you're the last person, like that doesn't happen over a 24-hour fitness like it's a totally different community. I get like chills talking about it. It's like a totally different community, and like we're always there for each other. It doesn't matter what box you go to. Yeah. You can go to any box in this whole world and feel that. Like I was in Thailand and we dropped into a box there, and it was so cool. Like it's just a community thing. And so I just wanted to, give back to this community that's kind of given me so much and like helped me find what I love and my passion. And so, here we are. So I'm been open a little over a year and a half now, and just trying to grow and like help this community, just help all the kind of functional fitness people. Like whether you're CrossFit, Orange Theory, F45, like if you like to move your body and you don't want someone to tell you to stop doing that, like come see me. we'll find a way to help you, you know.
So I love that. I agree with you so much on the community thing, especially here at LYFE. There's been some gyms where I haven't felt it as much.
Yeah.
I think it's more of the people than the gym itself, obviously, because the gym is
100%.
its people. But it's like, you know, cheering, like when they're cheering you on, you're doing your workouts, and it doesn't matter like if you're doing it RX or scale. Like you could scale it down to nothing, and it's like they still cheer you on, they still make you feel good about yourself, and it's like I don't feel like competitive when I look at Sugar WOD. I feel like, oh wow, like let me fist bump her for doing this instead of like, damn, I need to get there.
Right.
So I love that so much.
Yeah.
Love it, love it. Let's go back a little bit. And why PT? Why did you choose that?
Like your
drive. Why is that your passion?
Why is it PT?
Yeah. How did it?
Well, I'll give you like the short. I'll give you the whole version. So originally I wanted to be a doctor, right? I wanted to go to med school. I was like, I'm going to be an orthopedic surgeon. Like, I was a gymnast my whole life. I broke my ankles twice a piece.
What?
Never had to have surgery, luckily. But I've had some injuries, and luckily, believe it or not, like that's not even that bad compared to a lot of these like gymnasts.
Breaking both your ankles?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Different times.
You see that video when that girl like split on the thing and went viral? And she like split everything open. Like she just everything was open. Her whole body was just like. No, okay. So
now I'm gonna have to go watch
You're gonna have to look at it. You're gonna cry. It's the worst. Okay,
I'm scared, right? I'm like, oh god, I want to see that.
Sorry.
But like, I was in school and on that med track, and then I actually started falling in love with strength conditioning. And I had a really cool coach, and she was just pushed me to like. I was a 2-time strength conditioning All-American in college. Like I didn't know I liked weightlifting. I used to hate doing our conditioning as a kid. It was like torture, but like there's something about a barbell that made me super happy. So actually, I went off the med track and was going to go get my master's in exercise physiology because that's my major, and work as a strength coach. And I had like 3 different opportunities to be a grad assistant, and they all fell through. I'm like something is telling me this is not my track, right? Like all these opportunities I've had, like, and ready to go. I'm like 2 weeks away from like packing up and going to Michigan, and they're like, we just lost funding for this, we're gonna have to drop our GA for the year. I'm like, okay. So you know, there's something telling me like you're meant to do something else. So then I like started looking around. Actually went and worked for a couple years as a personal trainer, and I was like, this is not for me. Like I do not like this. Like I don't like most of the people in like regular gyms. They're not motivated.
They're not motivated.
They pay you to be a personal trainer, but they really just want to sit there and whine and like complain, and like it's not what I had originally like, thought it was. And so I was like, you know what, like you're smart, like you have a medical degree, like let's look at your options. I looked at PA, I looked at Chiro, I looked at PT, and the more I kind of dug into it, for me, I'm kind of bossy, like a little bit. And I'm like control. Like I like to know like what I'm doing and like kind of have a say in whatever it is I'm doing. So like the PA route just didn't fit for me because then you're always underneath the doc, right? Like it's never your patient. It's like you shared it with the doc. Even if you do all the work, it's still the doctor's patient. And I was like, that doesn't sit well with me because there's some phenomenal PAs out there that like literally do everything, and they're in the OR, like they're doing all this stuff. I'm like, ooh, that sounds awesome. But then it's you don't ever get the credit for it, right? Even if you did all the work. And I was like, okay, that's not good. So then I started looking at chiropractic and PT, and I was like, I'd been to a chiropractor a few times. I'd had a bunch of physical therapy, like growing up, and I was kind of just like starting to look at the differences, right, between the two. And for me, the reason I didn't go chiropractic is that there's nothing about chiropractic school that's tied into medical programs. So like the research is very different. It's all chiropractic research. And not that doesn't mean that's valid, but for me, I was like, what about this program that is actually like associated with all these medical schools? So if you ever look at chiropractic colleges, they're all on their own. It's like LYFE University or like American, there's another one. And so for me, I was like, I want to go to like an institution where they have like DOs and MDs and all these things, and that's kind of what made me go more the PT route. And then you start diving into it a little bit more, and then you get there and you're like, oh, this is awesome. I loved school. I got to try different like avenues, and like that would be kind of something for you, like when you go to vet school, like you might think you want, like I thought I wanted to do something and it totally like changed because I was in PT school, I was like, oh, I love neuro, I love working with these stroke patients and Parkinson's, but then I actually like did it on a rotation, and it was I was so emotional, it was too hard for me. Like, I'd come home like crying, be like, this guy, he was trying so hard to talk and he couldn't, and like, I couldn't do anything, and like, it just like brought me to tears. Like, I mean, I think I could probably choke up right now thinking about it. And so I was like, okay, maybe that's not my avenue. And I actually worked in a couple different settings, but I kind of found that like, you kind of do well with what you know and what you love, and CrossFit is kind of just like the thing that I love the most, and so I just kind of flowed in there, you know, for me. But that's how I got to PT school. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I feel like you learn a lot.
And that's good, I love it. And when you got done to PT school and stuff, how did it change your perspective on how you were training, or how we should train differently? You know what I mean? Like, how did you see something wrong with the way CrossFit was training people back then? You know, because in 2010, that's when it blew up. Like, everyone got a gym and everybody.
Well, I think before it was like a little reckless. Like, everyone was just kind of trying everything. Like, just, I mean, if you watch the games we actually had it playing the other day in the gym, like from 2010, where they were doing like split jerks and like run. It was like a max effort split jerk and then like a 400 meter, and they had like, I forget the whole actual workout.
We played it.
So, and I'm like, oh my god, their form is terrible. Like, if you watch what you've seen kind of happen in CrossFit is that people have started paying more attention to those details and to the form, and not just putting more weight on the bar. Because I think people did start to realize, like, you're going to break down an athlete real fast, and you just keep loading, and we don't really take that time to focus on their technique. And so I think CrossFit in general has done a really good job of trying, well, at least all the boxes that produce some of these like big athletes, you could see like they do a lot of accessory work. They started doing more like unilateral training, so they didn't have so many deficits from side to side. They start working, you know, we have all these things now like GoWAD and ROMWAD and like, you know, with like K-Star and the Ready State. Like, there's so many awesome things out there for these people to start doing. And now people are like, oh, I want to do ROMWAD, I want to do GoWAD, I want to check all these things. And people are trying to get into it and understand like this mobility stuff and this kind of strength and control piece is actually really important. It's going to make me better at CrossFit. So I think, you know, from then it was just more like, how much weight can you lift? I don't care how you get there. You know, there's that video of Dave Castro pulling like 405 for like 45 seconds or whatever it is. Like, I think today he'd probably be like, you know, like he went back and like looked at it. And like some of these other guys too, like they're better now than they were then. And it's probably mostly attributed to the fact that they cleaned everything up. And the cleaner you move, the stronger you're going to be able to get, because there's no more inefficiencies.
So you think, while you were competing, you were in PT school. So do you think that gave you an advantage over the other athletes that didn't really like care about taking care of their body and stuff, or?
No, because I didn't know enough.
You didn't know enough yet.
You know, what you learn in school is like how things work, right? Like, but the application part doesn't really happen until you get into like your rotations and you're like treating patients. You can learn about it all you want, but to actually go to do it, it's totally different. So like, there are some things I did know, like, hey, I have these deficits here, but that was also like the rise of K-Star also. So he, you know, I'd watch his stuff and I was like, oh, this stuff's really cool. And I'd start doing some. I started working a lot on my ankle mobility because that was obviously a huge restriction for me in the beginning. So I don't necessarily think it was like an advantage, but I did realize, maybe did recognize I had some more deficits than I thought I did. And I think that was where they didn't know how to assess themselves. So maybe in that aspect, but I mean, I'm still limited in certain things, and like, there's some stuff that they're structural, right? Like, you can't change it. And that's something you have to like kind of come to terms with and understand that we can't always change everything, you know, but we can work on all the limitations the best that we can.
Awesome.
What has like been the hardest part of like this whole process for you, or something that like
and like starting a business, or
and like something that like kind of changed your mindset, like in a positive way?
So first of all, starting a business is super scary, but I think the reason I was able to be successful, actually this is the second time I've tried. to open a business. The first time I was only like a year out of PT school, and honestly I think I didn't have any confidence like in myself. Like, I mean, I knew I was good at CrossFit, but I didn't feel like I was good at PT yet. And until I got some experience under my belt, I think it kind of like, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know what to tell her. Like, I do know what to tell you, but I'm like, I was always hesitant with everything. And so I didn't really, like, that didn't really take off. And then this time, I started it as like a side hustle, and I've been in the gym I've been at for almost 9 years now. So I have a really strong community there that they know me, they know who I am. And kind of like a lot of places in South Florida, just because I've been here for so long. And like associated with grid and all these other things. So like I have a good presence here in this like community. And so for me, it was kind of like, okay, just try it again. And I started to get more patients this time because I realized I was treating them better and I knew what I was talking about, and I treated them with confidence. Like if someone's like, well, maybe you should try that, versus like, you're limited here, here's an exercise for that. Which one who are you going to go with? The person who's like, maybe, or the person's like, hey, so I had that going for me this time. And then the pandemic actually just like thrust me into being on my own, because I basically worked from September to March as like my other job plus my like side hustle, and then everything closed, and even my job was like, we didn't have any patients. So I started, and I had already started doing some like workshops and stuff like that. So I was like, okay. So started reaching out to all the patients that had seen me before. We started doing like virtual consults, and I started doing like Zoom calls with other gyms, like, and doing mobility for free. Just giving you as much knowledge as I can, with the hopes that I can help you, and then if you need anything in the future, you come back to see me. And it paid off. And so I kind of started working by myself, and now I'm transitioning even to like a bigger space, because I'm kind of outgrowing where I am right now. And it's risky, but like once you realize that you really like something and that you really are making a difference, you start to trust yourself a little better. And like, it's scary, but like the people around you, like I've known Carlos for like a couple months, and he's like, you got this. Like, he doesn't know, but he knows, like he can see it. You can see things in people, and it's hard to see in yourself sometimes. And you get these people around you that are like, you're gonna crush it. Like, they just know, and you're like, you have to almost start trusting other people too. Like, I trust myself, but hearing it from other people just kind of validates that like, you can do this. So
cool. Love it. How about, we have like the 5 factors of health: eating, sleeping, training, the way we think, and who do we connect with?
Relationships.
How does that translate? Like, do you put it into your, or you're like strictly science and this is what it is? Or?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, I'm definitely like, we talked about that before, and I love that you have it like laid out like the 5 factors. I always address with all of my patients sleep, nutrition, hydration. Like, we always talk about that stuff, and stress, right? So like, one of the big things that I do for people is like, we talk about stress management, and like, it's not just come in here and let me work on your body, like, because I can work on you till you're blue in the face, but if you're not going to change some of these other things, it doesn't matter what I do. Some things just aren't going to change. So, and that in itself helps me to build that relationship with that patient. And then I also try to get them to change their mindset and say, hey, listen, like, this is important. You've invested so much time in your body by coming in here every day. Don't like start skimping on that now. Like, take the extra. I personally, when I give people programs for like extra like rehab stuff, it's like 10 to 20 minutes. I'm like, if you can spend an hour in here every day, you can take that like 10 to 20 minutes to do the other things that are going to benefit that, or else like you're wasting your hour. It's like you've given so much time, like, and it's not permanent, it's not indefinite. You need 20 minutes every day, but right now for the next, maybe 3 to 4 months, this is what you need to do. And then you'll slowly be able to like, that routine will go from 20 minutes to like 8 minutes, because you'll be like, oh, I got it. I like these exercises. These help me the most. And that's kind of one of the things we do, because I tell them at the beginning, like, hey, in the beginning it's going to take you a minute, but towards the end, we're have it really narrowed down into the things that help you the most. And then they start to like get confident too, especially after like, I don't know, first 2 to 3 visits with people, and we get their pain gone. They're like, oh my gosh, I thank you so much. Like, I'm back to this. I'm like, we're not done yet, but that's awesome. And their mindset changed, because they get kind of like down when you first see them because they're like, they're hurt, like, I can't do CrossFit, or I can't play tennis, I can't golf, or whatever it is. So we talk a lot about that stuff and like how to try to have a better attitude and like realize like, hey, just because you can't squat right now doesn't mean you can't do anything in the gym. Right? Like, let's still remember that like you need to do these things in the gym. Like, don't just, because a lot of people will get hurt and they like, well, they won't come for like 2 weeks. And then Carlos is like, hey, where you been? Oh, I got hurt. Well, why weren't you in here?
Still move your body, you know?
And like they've been, oh, I didn't know I should, you know, or I didn't know what to do, so I just didn't come. So that's that like mindset change. Like, hey, even though you're hurt right now, we can still do a lot of stuff. So I try to, you know, and I obviously for me that's like relationship building. Like, we build trust and we build these connections. And like, I've had patients that like, I had a patient today ask me like, hey, do you need any like investors in like your new business? Like, that's the kind of relationships you build with these people. And it's like, you know, they're going to be your patients forever. That's the goal, is that you're going to stay my patient for your whole life, as long whatever you need, not necessarily consecutively, but like anything you need, you're always going to come back to me because we've built that relationship. So I think that's, you know, I think you guys really try to do that here. And everyone knows everyone's name, everyone knows everyone's business, you know, but it's a good thing. And like, you don't see that in every community. And I think it's super important. I know there's I don't know if it's like a book or something about like calling people by their name and like saying their name out loud and like how it makes that person feel. And you kind of feel silly being like, hey, Carlos. But like, if I say his name, he feels like he is being seen versus me just be like, hey, what's up, buddy? So like when you say someone's name, like
so true.
So like it's really funny because there's like one of our coaches, he's so good with names and I'm so bad at names. But every time you walk in, he's like, hey, Jaime! I'm like, oh my God, he sees me, like I'm here. Like, it's cool, right? So it's something I'm trying to like get into my practice because it makes the patient or your client or whoever feel like they're like important. Right? And I think that's the end game, is like, how do I make my people feel special and important and know that they're like truly cared about, beyond just helping them, you know, with their injury or whatever it is.
I love it. What's the difference between like a regular insurance PT visit and yours? Like,
oh man, we're going down a rabbit hole here, right?
Let's do, I mean, a little.
No, it's okay. So I am like considered like out of network. So everything I do is cash based, but that doesn't mean that your insurance won't cover any of it. It just means that you're gonna pay upfront for the service, and then I'll give you a bill at the end that you can submit to your insurance. But people are like, oh, but why would I pay you if I can use my insurance? Well, here's the reason you'd want to pay me versus using your insurance. One, you're probably gonna have a copay, right? Somewhere between $30 and like $75, like depending on your plan or whatever. Two, at a regular PT place, they want to see you 2 to 3 times a week for like 6 to 8 weeks. You're seeing them like 15 to 20 visits. That's a lot. That's number one. Your time is your most precious commodity, and you're gonna spend 20 hours in this place. Like, is that necessary? Like, for me, no, it's not necessary. But think about that, like 20 times, let's say your copay is $50. What is that? $1,000? Right? For 20 hours of your time. That's a lot. But for me, it's like, okay, you're going to go in there, you're going to see the PT for like 10 minutes, and then they're going to hand you off to an aide or a tech to do your exercises. And or they're not going to watch you do your exercises because they're treating 2 or 3 other people at the exact same time. And so what happens with the patient is they're over there doing their exercise wrong. Nobody said anything. Nobody sees them. So then they go home and they keep doing their exercise and they come back. Same thing happens over and over and over again. And maybe they get a little stronger. Maybe they get a little bit better. But nobody has like ever actually corrected this exercise. So you have that aspect of it with the insurance-based model, because your insurance companies are going to dictate what you can and can't do. And last time I checked, I was the one who went to PT school, not my insurance company, right? And so for me, that's not always what's best for the patient, you know, and they'll sit there with you and they'll see you for 10 minutes, they'll go to your exercises, and then they'll throw some heat or ice or stem or something like that on you and then walk away. And they're going to bill your insurance. Then what happens if you don't meet your deductible? You get stuck with that bill, right? So there might be a bill at the end of your whole PT session for like $500-$600. And now you paid like $2,000 for PT and you're not even better. Versus if you just come in, see me, six, maybe 10 visits, and I spread them out. Like, because what I want to see is, how are we actually making progress? What's happening in the gym? And if you're telling me it hurts when I snatch, guess what we're doing in the session? We're going to snatch. Like, I want to see you move a barbell or a PVC or something. You'll never get that at a general PT practice. They don't have the space, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the knowledge for that, because it's not what they do. They're generalists, and I'm a specialist. So it's like, would you take your Lamborghini to a Toyota dealership? Yeah. Like, no, you wouldn't. So why do you do that with your body? Like, you're a CrossFitter, go see the CrossFit specialist. At the end of the day, you usually end up spending pretty much the exact same, if not less, and you get all of the time with your PT. So it's always one-on-one, it's always an hour, and sometimes, like, if you're my last patient, like, sometimes I forget it's only an hour, and we'll go for 90 minutes or whatever, just because I get caught up with things, and I want to help you, right? And I think that's the other part, that, like, if you're seeing just one kind of population, you can really get, like, super specialized into all the things that they're doing, versus you go somewhere else and they're seeing all these different kinds of people. Like, they don't know how to fix your snatch. I was a 2-time, like, national level weightlifter. Like, I could work on your snatch. I understand the movement, I understand the mechanics, and I've been there, you know. So, like, that's kind of just, like, that difference is, like, you want to see the generalist or you want to see the specialist. You know, there's different things I think require different people. If you, like, just had surgery, go to the general person for at least the first, like, 6 to 8 weeks. There's only so much you could do, right? But after that, then come see me, so that we can transition you and get you back into lifting or doing whatever it is that you want to do, and know that you're doing it well and proper. Because the last thing you want to do is have shoulder surgery, and then you go back to the gym, you've been doing it wrong the whole time, and you hurt yourself again, you know? So, like, for me, that's kind of, like, the biggest difference is the specialized kind of attention and care. And to me, the time commitment, right? Like, I want to see you once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. Some people I see once a month. Mm-hmm. And they still make progress, they still get better. But it's all about having that accountability. Like, hey, Carlos, if I give you these exercises, you've invested your time and money in this program with me. This is what I need you to do, so that it makes it worth it for you. If you spend your money, you're going to do it. And you don't, like, everyone kind of, like, shies away, like, oh, it's $30, it's $30, it's $30. But at the end of it, you don't even realize that you've dropped $1,500 and you've made no progress. So it always kind of, like, people see that, like, oh, the number up front, but it's like, hey, listen, I promise you the value, like, if you go read the Google reviews, like, I promise you, like, I'm not going to steer you in the wrong direction. I'm not after your money. I just want to make sure you can get the best care possible. And that's kind of why, like, I went cash-based, because I didn't want to see 30 people a day. Because what kind of practitioner am I going to be? I can't give 100% effort to 30 people in a day. You just can't. Like, it's just not possible. And if you guys have been in any healthcare, any healthcare setting, you see these doctors, they're, like, overwhelmed. Got 50 patients. You're like, could you then you come back, that doctor does not remember you.
0 chance.
No, not a chance. You're, like, 1 of 1,000. Yeah. You know, it's just hard. So for me, it's like, I want my quantity to be low, but the quality you're gonna get is huge. And that's why I did it. That's why we went cash versus in network.
Just stuff. Difference between PT and a massage.
Difference between, oh, that's great. So actually, I have a massage therapist that works with me. So we talk about this all the time, and, like, when to see PT and when to see a massage. I actually just made an Instagram post on it yesterday, because it's a big question we get all the time. Like, when should I go see a massage therapist versus when should I go get PT? If you are in pain, right? Sharp pain, stabbing pain, shooting pain, numbness, tingling, you're like, it hurts here and it radiates down my arm, go see a PT. If you're like, oh man, I'm so sore, or I can't get overhead, it just feels like I'm restricted here or whatever, go see massage. You're stressed out, go get a massage. That's a great stress reliever. You know, maybe you're like, you just know you're really tight, go get a massage. They can stretch you, they can do, you know, different kinds of massages, do different things. So there's a lot of, like, but pain is, like, the main differentiator. So, like, you have to know when something is pain or something is sore. Also, you have to know if something is, like, painful or something just uncomfortable, right? Because sometimes people are so sore they're really uncomfortable, right? Like right now for me after Marathon Monday. Right? We just have to know that difference. But what should really happen is if you do go get a massage somewhere and you have a really good massage therapist and you tell them what's going on, they should be able to tell you also, like, hey, you know what? This doesn't really sound like something we can fix with massage. You should probably go get some PT to help this issue. But there's absolutely no reason why you can't have both. Zero. Like, they don't like clash at all. Like, everything that I do with my patients is usually movement based, with the exception of some dry needling, and some of the, like, other like kind of manual techniques that we do. But soft tissue stuff, they're phenomenal, and everyone could use it. Literally, everyone could benefit from a good massage. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's
But
awesome.
the difference is just pain.
What is something you do different as a PT? Like, what makes you you?
What makes me me?
Yeah.
I pay attention to detail.
Back. So what makes you
We're back.
you?
What makes you you? We're back.
Yes. Why are you different?
What makes me different? I don't know. I think what makes me different is the fact that, like, you're not gonna find anybody else out there that's been like where I've been and like
Gone through something.
understands the mindset, the physical demands, everything about like CrossFit that makes CrossFit CrossFit. Like, you're just not, you won't find that anywhere else. And I feel like we should always practice what we preach. And if, you know, as a practitioner, it was really hard for me in school when we had like a professor or somebody who was like really overweight and they're talking to us about nutrition. You're just kind of like, you look at them and like you're kind of confused because you're telling me all these things. I hear what you're saying, but like it doesn't make me feel like you're serious about it. But you know, when you walk into a clinic and your practitioner sitting there in CrossFit clothes, like ready to go, you're like, oh, she knows what's up. And so for me, it's kind of like I want my people to know that like I'm not only telling you what to do, but I do these things too,
And
right? And I get it, and like I understand the struggles when it comes to like being hurt and like not being able to do something. I've been there, you know, and I've rehabbed and I've had to go through all that. So I think, you know, just experience alone kind of like makes me different. And then, you know, just the competitive side for, you know, CrossFitters in general, there's a lot of stuff that goes into competing. And I've helped a lot of people like right before like competitions. They'll come in and they're saying, you know, I'm a little nervous about doing this competition. And we go over the workouts and I'm like, what's your strategy? You know, I sometimes I'm like a coach versus just being the PT. That we'll do our PT stuff, or you know, while we're doing some dry needling, we're sitting there talking about, okay, what's the strategy for this? How are you going to accomplish this workout? What's the best way for you to break this up so that you can be successful? So then we kind of go into that competitive edge, and I don't think you find that. And I don't think you'll ever find someone who will sit down with you and talk to you about those things in your session. You know, I think that's, most doctors are like, hey, how you doing? And you start talking and they interrupt you within 7 seconds of you talking, and then they write down what they're going to write down no matter what, and then they leave.
Yeah, they automatically think they know without understanding it.
Yeah.
And you're like communicating on like a one-to-one basis. It's like common ground all the way through.
100%.
I think that's really, really good.
So I think that's probably like the biggest thing that like makes me stand out or makes me a little bit more different than what you get anywhere else. Just the experience and like the understanding part of it.
Love it. What advice would you give any athlete about like taking care of, like the importance of taking care of their body? Like what would that rank?
So I guess my advice to any athlete really, whether you're super competitive or you're just like a weekend warrior, it doesn't matter. If something's bothering you, like go talk to somebody now. Like, don't wait. I find that most people are like, they wait. It's been 4 weeks, right, since you hurt yourself, and you're just kind of like trying to do things, and like you have, like that's kind of why I want to get out there for people. Like, I'm here to help you. Call me. I'll sit there on the phone with you for 15, 20 minutes and talk to you about what's going on for free. Like, I want to help you. My job is like, how can I help you? So if you've got something going on, take care of it now. Like, don't wait until it gets to that point where you're like, all right, it's been 6 months and I haven't addressed it. And I think that if you know that ahead of time, if anything does happen, you're like, oh man, you know, I rolled my ankle. It's been, you know, a week is fine. We gotta let our bodies do their thing. But if things are still hurting, like, call the box up. I'm here. Like, I'll help you. I want to help you. So, you know, you only get one body also. So don't like beat it to hell, you know, like get the help you need, figure out what's going to make you better, and, you know, enjoy it. Like, this is supposed to be fun. CrossFit's fun. If you're not having fun with it, go do something else. Like, if you don't love it and you're not like eager to work out every day, and like, not every day, but if you're not eager to like do your class and like see your people, it's probably not the place for you, you know?
Love that. All right, with that said, where can people find you?
I need
Instagram,
to find you.
Yeah.
whatever, YouTube channel, what?
So Instagram, you can find me at _box_doc.
2 underscores.
2 underscores, yeah. _box_doc. You guys can email me, Dr. Jaime at theboxdoc.com. You can text me. It's 954-300-2110.
1 second.
That's my business number. So you can text me. You can call me there. Shoot me a DM. Find me. I think on Facebook it's at the Box Doc Physio. I believe that's my like handle.
I don't use Facebook.
Yeah, I don't really use it much anymore
Right?
either. Most things, everything's through like Instagram.
For
the most
what else
part.
do you use?
We use Instagram. We have a YouTube channel, but we don't really use it.
Yeah.
It's something, you know. I realize that I'm only one person. I can't do all the things.
Takes a lot.
But yeah, Instagram is pretty much like the place for us to be. But you can find us at Grid Competition. Be Grid. You know, we're located over off of Southwest 70th Avenue. So 2280 Southwest 70th Avenue. Unit 4.
Yes.
Soon. That's my new unit.
That's a new unit?
New unit.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we're building a new facility. So when we get all that up, it's going to be amazing, and we'll get everyone in there to come do like a big welcome party, and you know, we'll have some fun stuff for everybody.
So we'll do that. You're gonna do a little workshop.
Yeah, so we're gonna set up some workshops here. We'll do like a cool little series for you guys, and you know, depending on like what you think people need the most of, you know, because you're the coach, right? Like you see it and you're like, oh man, my people, their shoulder mobility is trash, or like everyone's ankles are like jacked up. So we could do like a squat clinic, which is just going to be like all the mobility pieces needed for a squat. We can do a bulletproof kind of shoulder one where we work on like specific shoulder ones, whether it's for, you know, pull-ups or snatching or even like cleans. We can do a low back pain. You know, a lot of people get low back pain, so we can kind of cater it to whatever you guys need. But that's a really awesome way to get people in here and like get them moving, and you know, and then afterwards, if they need anything, I'm here for you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you, girl.
What's it? 954
Again.
300 2110.
Thank you. That's awesome. That's good.
Good.
Love it. Short, simple, easy.
I'm actually really worried about my ankle though.